The base is dropped on a Friday morning. SDH is live on August 2nd. It's a big weekend ahead as we are truly into the business end of the Major League Soccer season. Atlanta United currently in second place in the Eastern Conference, also currently not with a big cushion above the 8th place team in the Eastern Conference. Every point is going to be very, very important the rest of the way, and it starts on Saturday with the LA Galaxy coming to town. An LA Galaxy team that will be missing Zlatan Ibrahimovic, will be missing Efrain Alvarez, will be missing Diego Polenta, but an LA Galaxy team that has been among the best in the Western Conference. We'll get you set for that throughout the morning. Doug Roberson of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution joins us at 9:30. Mike Conti of 92.9 The Game joins us at 10 a.m. But we're going to get you started with your favorite juice box purveyors and their thoughts on the weekend around MLS. And, John, let's get started with the games in chronological order. Let's start with Red Bulls hosting Toronto. Last time Toronto took care of business at BMO Field, they've won 3 of their last 4. Red Bulls, the number that jumped out to me in this is their defense has been an issue lately. Conceded 3 goals in 5 of the last 8 matches.
Juicebox purveyors, and reminder everyone that this is courtesy of our friends at Bet365. So if you have a different Juicebox purveyor, feel free to use as a comparison. Red Bulls, minus 110, Toronto FC at plus 300.
Oh, you sound surprised.
Just the plus 300 number.
Well,
I would have thought that it would have been a little less than that.
Okay, your inflection was more surprised at the Red Bulls being the home favorite, which I think that's right, and it's not a huge favorite, so... Yeah, that feels about right. The plus 300 is a little large, but Toronto is only 3-5-2 on the road. They've been really inconsistent. Feels about right. I could see a draw here. I could really easily see a draw. I don't think either team is... I think Red Bulls are not where they should be, and there's starting to be a few questions of Chris Armas and why Kamar Lawrence sat out the last match, for example. The reasoning was... odd. The things that were said to the media was a little odd. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think Kamar Lawrence is kind of automatic.
John started him on his fantasy team.
Well, that's probably why he sat him then. We're not talking fantasy in this segment, though, so leave that out of it. We'll try to fix your fantasy team later. I'm thinking draw here. I don't see either one being clearly above the other one going into it. A really interesting one on Saturday night. New England hosting LAFC. LAFC 6-3-3 on the road. We know what they have been all season. We also know what New England has been in their last 11. They haven't lost. Does the hashtag Bruce Arena effect continue?
New England plus 200. LAFC plus 125.
Ooh. Kind of like that plus 200 number for the Revs. Just saying. Kind of like it. Bruce knows Bob pretty well. I could see New England continuing the unbeaten streak here.
Gustavo Bo, we've seen what he has been able to do coming out of the blocks. Carlos Heel. Yeah, the offense that was non-existent under Brad Friedel has been found by Bruce Arena. LAFC having to travel from one end of the country to the other. I could see the Revs pull this one off, too. That plus 200 is looking a little juicy.
Yeah, that's going to ultimately be one of the crazier storylines of the just complete change in fortune of the New England Revolution. I mean, you get a new coach bump. Colorado's had a new coach bump, but it's kind of fizzled out here because they've realized that, look, this team's just not that good. New England, 11 games, That's more than a new coach bump. And one reason why is Carlos Heel, a player who showed flashes under Brad Friedel, but kind of felt like he was shackled a bit. Heel has been one of the best players in the league lately. In this 11-game unbeaten streak, Carlos Heel has 5 goals and 5 assists. Over each of the past 3 games, 4-0 win versus Vancouver, 2-0 win at Cincinnati, 4-1 win versus Orlando, Heel has scored a goal and added an assist in each of those games. That's one shy of the MLS record for scoring a goal and notching an assist in each game. Diego Serna of the Miami Fusion has that record from 2001-04. Heel is going to really be tested to try to match that against LAFC, but I do think New England can get the win here. I think LAFC, I want to see how they handle what happened last week, because I think there were some questions raised. And look, Bruce Arena, I know U.S. men's national team fans don't really care for Bruce Arena after his failure to get the team qualified. He can go into a match and pick something that an opponent has a weakness in and exploit it. I think that's something he's very good at. And I think in this one, he'll have no problem playing direct and playing over the press and playing to Gustavo Bo and then playing in LAFC's half. And on turf, LAFC doesn't play a ton on turf. I think New England takes care of business here and gets a very surprising win.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
like
for me,
it's 200.
Yeah, for the very least, I'm thinking an exciting draw with a big number attached, but definitely could see the Revs getting the win.
Orlando and Dallas is our next one, and the big question for me is how Orlando balances their starting 11 with that Open Cup semifinal coming up next week. Orlando's only got 1 win in their last 6 in league play. Flip side, Dallas has 3 clean sheets in their last 4 matches, and they have never conceded a goal to Orlando in all competitions.
Orlando City plus 130, FC Dallas plus 210.
You got the home underdog, which I usually am enamored with. Not so much in this one because I think Orlando rests some players. I think Dallas takes the win on the road. I mean, that's an important one for Dallas. I mean, they're in 6th in the West. The West is a dogfight below the top 4.
Yeah, I'm looking at the very least. I'm looking at a draw here. If not, Dallas eking out a win because Orlando City sits more people than we normally would anticipate.
Cincinnati hosting Vancouver. Don't watch it. Just nope. Put a block on it.
No.
If you have the child control locks on your TV, block this one so no kids have to watch it. Cincinnati's lost 14 of their last 17. Vancouver has failed to win in their last 9. Between the two teams, 27 losses in 2019. Vancouver was knocked out of the Canadian Championship by a Canadian Premier League team. Cincinnati was knocked out of the U.S. Open Cup by a lower division team. Yeah. What do the juice box purveyors say about this one? And if anybody puts any juice boxes on this game, you're a complete degenerate.
FC Cincinnati minus 125.
That's a pretty big
Vancouver
number.
plus 320.
Yeah, I'm not touching it. Nope.
No.
Moving on, Colorado hosting Montreal. The Impact have lost their last 4 matches on the road. The Rapids, they haven't won in their last 4 matches. The Connor Casey effect is waning just a bit. Montreal's coming in after a big win at home, though, against Philadelphia. Can they carry that form out on the road? We'll have to see. What do the juice boxes think?
Juice boxes think it's going to be a bit of a wash. Colorado at plus 137, Montreal at plus 200.
Plus 200 is not too bad. Lassi Lapalainen, the Finnish forward. First game in Montreal. He was introduced by the club less than 48 hours before it kicked off. Scored 2 goals, MLS Player of the Week.
Boom.
Finns score goals in Montreal is what I hear. I think that's happened on the ice as well for the Canadiens. So
Accurate.
yeah, so they're in good shape with that, and they're also getting goals from Okonkwo as well, who he's an explosive player. Like, I was surprised we didn't see him more in the match here in Atlanta when Montreal came to town, but he's raw, Orji Okonkwo. But, man, he is explosive. And now if he's got somebody to play with up top in Lapalainen, and you get Nacho Piatti back into this mix, just saying, Nacho got his first assist of the season. Maybe things are coming together for Montreal. I think they get the win on the road. They are in a spot where they're 1 point ahead of Toronto. They're level with New England. We've talked about the East being a dogfight. Montreal's going to have to continue picking up points. And if you get Nacho healthy and you get Okonkwo and you get Lapalainen contributing, Montreal can make the playoffs. They're going to be tested, but they've got the talent to do it. They always feel like they underperform their talent. And we'll see if this is the year that changes. One other note about the Impact. They've won 4 games on the road, and that's the best of anybody below the number 4 spot in the East. That's one more than Atlanta's won on the road. It's the same number of wins on the road that DC and NYC have and Philadelphia has. They've lost 7, but 4 wins on the road. Montreal can go into Colorado and get the win. I think they do here.
I'm thinking 2-2 draw, just because I looked at that initial number. I obviously, full disclosure, I have Lapalainen in a later discussion here on the morning show, but I've got another 2-2 draw. I think it'll be an exciting match, but I don't think anything gets resolved.
Have you picked a draw in every match so far?
No.
All
I
but
said
one?
draws could happen. I have not. I think that Cincinnati or Vancouver wins that match. That's just going to be ugly.
Everybody's bored.
Yeah.
Houston and Chicago is up next. Dynamo, the wheels are coming off. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They've fallen out of a playoff spot. Chicago, I don't know if the wheels were pumped up to begin with. They have not won in their last 5 at all. They have failed to win on the road in their last 23 times out.
Oof.
Houston, generally good at home, feels like a Dynamo win.
Yeah. Dynamo right now, even money, plus 100. Chicago Fire, plus 275.
That's a low underdog number for Chicago on the road. That tells you that the Juicebox folks are not thinking too highly of Houston, but man, Chicago hasn't won on the road in 23 times out. They're not doing it. I just don't see it.
Nope.
RSL.
I got to go Dynamo win.
Yes. RSL, NYCFC. RSL, they're unbeaten at home in their last 6. They have fallen just below the playoff line, though. The Pigeons, they've won back-to-back matches. They lost back-to-back matches before that. A little streaky. This one's interesting with Mike Petke's absence due to his suspension. NYC is, I think, still putting together one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. They're not quite all the way there yet. This is a really tricky one on the prognostication.
Juicebox purveyors have Real at plus 130, NYCFC at plus 200.
That's a pretty large home underdog number, and I kind of like it. I think RSL can get the win here. This, though, I wouldn't touch it in terms of picking an outright winner. This would be one that on the juice boxes I'm looking for a win plus draw option because I'm kind of leaning draw on it.
NYCFC, if you can get it with the draw option, minus 175. RSL with the draw option, minus 275.
Yeah, so see, I wouldn't touch it because I would lean RSL, but I'd want the draw back up. So, yeah, not touching it. Should be a good game, though. That should be a fun one on Saturday night. Another fun one on Saturday night, a surprisingly fun one, is San Jose and Columbus. The reason it's surprisingly fun is Columbus has won back-to-back matches, and they've scored at least 2 goals in their last 3. So they've finally figured at least a few things out under Caleb Porter. They're 2-8-1 on the road, so that part's not good. But maybe they just open it up and try to run with the Quakes, which isn't easy. The Quakes have won 8 of their last 9 at home, and they have not lost to Columbus at home in their last 6 times playing in California. San Jose should win, but it could be an entertaining one.
Yeah, and I think that if you're up late and you have access to this one, I would watch it. For MLS upcoming Coach of the Year, Matias Almeida, San Jose minus 200, the Crew plus 500.
Yeah, I mean, that's a number that grabs your attention if you like juice boxes, that plus 500, but it's that big for a reason. Don't see it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think San Jose takes care of this one. Sunday matches, Minnesota and Portland will kick us off, and that is on national television on ESPN. The Loons, only 1 loss in their last 11 at home. However, Portland, unbeaten in their last 6, and they're coming in after a big win over the Galaxy. Could be fireworks in this.
And that's what I'm thinking. Minnesota right now plus 100, even money. Portland plus 230.
Ooh, that's a big number for a team like Portland that I could see winning everything.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, 6 wins on the road. They're tied with LAFC for the most wins on the road. Now, they've played the most games on the road, but still, 6-7-2 on the road for Portland. Oh. If I had some juice boxes, that Portland number
like that
is
one,
a pretty exciting one. Minnesota is 6-1-4 at home, though. You know, this feels like a game where we're going to learn a lot at the end of it. If Minnesota wins, you've got to look at them as a team that could host a playoff match. You've got to look at them as potentially a top 4 team in the West. If Portland wins, you've got to look at them as a favorite, one of the favorites to be in MLS Cup and to win MLS Cup. I think they're that good. This is the kind of game, if they go on the road and win it, they can show that. Because Minnesota has been really, really good this year. I know it's easy to think back to previous iterations of the Loons, but 6-1-4 at home. They're 10-7-5 overall. They have a plus 8 goal differential. They finally figured out how to defend. And the Loons are potentially a top half playoff team in the West. But these are the kinds of games that those teams win at home. So we'll learn a little bit more about the Loons, and we'll learn a lot more about the Timbers as well. Next match on Sunday, D.C. and Philadelphia, one that a lot of Atlanta United folks will be keeping an eye on. D.C. are unbeaten in their last 7 at Audi Field. Philadelphia has had some wild swings this season, and we'll see if they can swing back from a really big loss on the road in Montreal. Losing in Montreal is not upsetting, but losing 4-0 on the road,
yes,
that raises some questions.
DC United at plus 130, Philadelphia plus 200, and the over-under at 2.5, the over minus 167.
DC's plus 130 at home, huh? That's a little surprising. I mean, I think they're the favorite coming in. I do. Philadelphia, I think it's hard to not give DC a bigger number being a home favorite in this one because they're 3 points behind Philadelphia on the season. And Philadelphia's had these ups and downs. You have to ask how they bounce back. Philadelphia is decent on the road. They're 4-5-3 on the road. DC 5-2-5 at home. I think DC takes it.
I'm looking at Andre Blake, and I'm thinking that it might be a goalless draw. I honestly don't see a whole lot of goals being scored in this one. I looked at the over at 2.5 with that minus 167. I'm like, I don't know if it gets to 2.5. I really don't.
I don't know if you're keeping Philadelphia off the board. They've got 41 goals this season. They're leading the Eastern Conference. Bill Hamid is a guy who can do that. I don't know if you do here. I think it opens up a little bit, actually. I think it'll be a fun one. I could see a draw, absolutely. I could see both teams being level at the end of it, but I'm not expecting it to be scoreless. I think it'll be a fun one. Nightcap, West Coast, Seattle hosting Sporting Kansas City. The Sounders only one loss at home this season. Kansas City is getting a little desperate for Sporting. They are 6 points out of a playoff spot. They're in 10th in the West, so not even just the 6 points. They got to leapfrog Houston, who has a winnable match at home, RSL, who has a match at home, even though it's against NYC, and Portland, who has a match on the road that they could win because Portland is that good, and Dallas, who could pick up points this weekend. So Kansas City, not even just where they are going into the weekend, but where they might be when this one kicks off, it feels like desperation times. The one thing about it, though, and Peter Vermees can point to this, Kansas City beat Seattle earlier this season, 3-2. It was in Kansas City, but still, you've got to win over this team earlier this year.
Crazy one in Kansas City earlier this season. Seattle minus 106, Sporting plus 260.
Yeah, I don't have the belief in Kansas City to recommend that one, but I think Kansas City really comes in all guns blazing because they have to. They have to come in and show you something here because their backs are against the wall. They could easily be. I mean, I can see a scenario this weekend where Dallas wins in Orlando, so they go to 36. Portland wins in Minnesota, so they go to 34. RSL can beat NYC at home, and they would go to 34. Houston at home against Chicago could go to 33, and then Sporting would be 8 points out if they don't get anything in Seattle. And that's when you start 8 points out with 11 matches left. I think you're going to be looking at that when this kicks off. I think you're going to be looking at Kansas City more than 6 points out of a playoff spot. And they're going to have to really go for this. I don't know if they have it in them. I think the injuries have taken their toll. I don't think they really have any continuity at this point. So Kansas City's got a tough one here, and I don't think it works out for them. I think Seattle gets the win, and if LAFC loses in New England, which is possible, and Seattle wins, well, then you're looking at 49 points for LAFC through 23 matches, and Seattle on 41 through 23 matches. Might not be done just yet. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Do we have any questions on the Twitters before we take a break and get Doug Roberson on the line?
Well, let's see. We have injury questions. We have transfer window questions. We have a couple of different ideas here. So what direction would you like to go?
Your pick, dealer's choice.
All right, dealer's choice. Friend of the show, Chris Ashley, and consistent guest on Greenville Triumph Weekly, GVLsoccer.com, and that soccer show. Do you see Atlanta making any more moves before the window closes next Wednesday?
I've really wondered about outside back just because we don't really know what the update is on George Bello and how close he is, and on Mikey Ambrose for that matter too, because even if you get Bello back, you still don't have any real depth on the left side if Ambrose isn't going to be back. If there's a move, I think it's something like that. I don't think it's a mega move. I don't think it's a big move, but I think addressing that depth on the outside is something I could easily see happening. I think it's an issue, and I think it does affect what options Frank de Boer has tactically.
Daniel Price has his daily prize picks question, which we're going to hold to the second hour.
We'll hold that.
Michael Ruiz, winner Tito Bello, and blast from the past Kevin Kratt supposed to be fully match fit Labor Day. Love to have those three available for the stretch run after the international break in September.
Kratz, I would say, yeah. If Kratz is going to be back and contribute this season, that's the type of time frame you're looking at. If he's just returning to some training now, it's going to take a while. Tito, you'd love to see back before that, and you'd hope that he's a little bit closer. Bello should be the first one of the three back, you think. Could be Tito. Both have been training, I guess intermittently would be the best way to put it. I don't know if they've been training every day, and you're having to monitor both closely. You're making sure that there's no setbacks, and Bello, especially his age, you have to think long term with George Bello. I mean, I heard a conversation yesterday at 92.9 The Game with Alex Anthopoulos of the Braves, and he was talking about, innings for pitchers and how, they're not putting guys on an inning count or a pitch count, but they're monitoring every day, and they're going to, as much as they're all in to win the World Series this year, they're also not going to jeopardize a pitcher's career over this year. And that's kind of where you're at with Bello. As much as you need him, because you need a left back and you need a dynamic left back like George Bello can be, you're not going to risk a longer-term injury. You're not going to risk stunting his development anymore through injury for short-term glory. So you've got to be careful with Bello. Tito, Kratz, older players, a little bit different situation. But Bello, you're going to be very, very careful with. So I hope he's the first one back, and I hope he's back before that. But it's hard to predict.
Nathan Pugh on the news about Star in the Super Cup.
You were breaking up and turning into a robot.
Apologies. I don't know why. I'm not moving. But yeah, Nathan Pugh passed along the news from the Super Cup, and it's Denny Frappart.
Yeah, I caught enough of it. Yes, it's soccer over there topic, but we drop these in from time to time. You've got news out of Europe that you will have a female referee in a UEFA match, the UEFA Super Cup. It is a trophy. It is considered a big match, even though it's kind of a preseason kickoff. Female referee, I believe, for the first time in UEFA history.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yep. Major UEFA men's competition event for the first time ever, taking charge.
Stephanie Frappart for the Liverpool-Chelsea match. So, very cool. No reason why that can't happen more often. A little surprised it hasn't happened more in MLS, but I think you have more matches that referees who specialize in the women's game grab. I think you see in other countries, you do see some female referees in the first division, but they specialize in the first division on the men's side, but they specialize in the women's game. Here, it feels like a little more separation once you get to those levels, although you see some, as referees are coming up, serve in different roles in MLS versus NWSL, or if they're a fourth in an MLS match, they're a center in an NWSL match. You see a little more crossover on the way up. But once you get to the elite level, it feels like they're very separate types of assignments. I wonder if that'll change over time with more assignments like this, more assignments like Perez, who I thought was one of the best referees this summer in the Women's World Cup from Uruguay, who referees in their first division. We've seen female referees in Ligue 1 as well, and I believe Frappart is one of those. It's going to happen more often. No reason why it can't work. No reason at all why it can't work. I think in some ways it can work better. I think it changes the way dissent happens at times. I think it really does. So maybe it can be a very useful tactic sometimes. And if the referee's good, the referee's good. I don't care what their gender is. Let's take a break. Let's get Doug Roberson on the line, talk Atlanta and LA Galaxy. Doug will be joining us from the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. Frank DeBoer and players will be speaking to the media in just a bit. We'll get Doug's thoughts on his trip to Orlando as well. Be right back after this.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky and Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. SDH, August 2nd edition. Getting ready for a busy weekend. Atlanta United 2 in action in Kennesaw State tonight, but Atlanta United is in action tomorrow at the Benz. LA Galaxy come into town, and we always get ready for every match with our friend Doug Roberson of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. What's going on, Doug?
I'm just hanging out at the training facility.
Waiting on training to start?
Yep.
Good times, always. How was the trip to Orlando? How was the scene in Central Florida?
It was a lot more eventful and newsworthy than I expected. I don't know why. I expected less. But starting with Leandro's comments on Monday, and then kind of talking to him and Howard Webb on Tuesday, and then the stuff with the MLS Players Association Wednesday morning. I mean, truthfully, the All-Star game is probably the least important thing that goes on during All-Star week.
It's true.
Compared to everything else, expansion talk and potential for offside technology and all the stuff that comes out from all the meetings and the speeches by the commissioner and everything. The game is just, a few of us were saying we wouldn't mind if there were a lightning strike somewhere in the area and just cancel this whole thing.
I think a few people were open for that. Let me ask you one really big picture question now that you were there and you had lots of national media, kind of the soccer world in the United States descended on Orlando. Going into year 25 of the league next year, what's your feeling just about the pulse and the strength of where this league is right now?
That's a good question. They think the league is in a good place, and a lot of people think that this next CBA between the MLS Players Association and the league is going to be immensely important if the league truly wants to take the next step to challenge some other leagues in the world for quality and and as a result popularity. It seems like there's more expansion candidates that they know what to do with, so that's going to mean more money. But it is also going to mean the product, to me, needs to be better. Otherwise, it's just going to be watered down and diluted. So I think that's where we're going. Don Garber was talking about he knew that there was kind of a change for Major League Soccer a few years ago when all these soccer-specific stadiums started being built. And I mean, now to pony up and get an expansion franchise, it's a capital outlay of in between $550 and $650 million that these owners and all these cities are clamoring to be a part of. So MLS is in a good place now, but this next CBA is going to be gigantically important to its future.
Doug, when you look when you're looking at the new CBA from the player's perspective, I mean, obviously, one of the things that sticks out in my mind is the travel issue and charters, the number of charters, and so on. when you look at the negotiations, what are the big red flags for you that really need to be first and foremost addressed when it comes to the CBA itself this next round?
Well, my wants are different than the players' wants, obviously. We sat down with a few of us were invited to attend an MLSPA interview session that lasted about an hour. Brad Guzan was there, Leandro Gonzalez-Perez was there, Walker Zimmerman. So a lot of Atlanta ties were there as the three players represented. And the charter flights was one of the first things that the players mentioned. They said it's ridiculous that they're having to fly commercial for 95% or 99% of their trips in a season, and that the flying commercial and the delays and the troubles results in a lesser quality product because the players are fatigued, the players are tired, and flying charters would eliminate a lot of that. The executive director of the MLSPA, Roos, also mentioned getting rid of the buckets of money because things like allocation money, there are many, many players on an MLS roster that aren't eligible to receive that money, and it's demoralizing. And we never really circled back to that with a great deal. So when I was in the locker room after the All-Star game, I was asking a few players about TAM and GAM and designated players. One player told me he thinks they should have at least 5 designated players. Another player referenced back to the buckets of money and said we want to see all of it eliminated. Kind of just open up the free market in Major League Soccer and see what happens. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, that to me would be financial suicide. But I do think that expanding the salary cap and getting rid of allocation money and getting rid of designated players, but just telling owners you could spend up to this. You know, maybe you don't count the transfer fees, but for the salaries, and we'll give you 35 roster spots in which you could spend that money, and let's see what happens.
Be curious to see what happens. I think the league, I'm with you. I think this is a critical juncture, and it's interesting that it comes at the 25th anniversary. It's far bigger than probably anybody thought it would be in 1996. I think it's a better product than anybody thought it could be in 1996. But to get to that next level, yeah, these are some of the things that are going to have to be discussed. We could go into this all day, but there's a game tomorrow, and I think it's a very interesting one with the LA Galaxy coming to town. The Galaxy will be missing some big figures, but Atlanta United home games are going to be at a premium right now. I think you have to get 3 points here, and what do you think has to change on the Atlanta United side from what we saw in Los Angeles last weekend?
Well, I mean, it's the same problem that they've had for 3 seasons. They can't switch off. And, you know, people can argue right or wrong that 2 to 3 of LAFC goals were the result of poor officiating, but it doesn't matter. They're still goals. They still were opportunities because of poor play by Atlanta United's defense and poor decisions. They've got to get that fixed. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's putting Michael Parkhurst and Jeff Lernowitz, veterans who know what it takes, back into the starting lineup. But that's the number one issue they've got to get solved if they want to make up for all the lost points. They keep dropping in the East. It's bizarre. And then the second thing is Frank has to figure out the starting lineup now that he's gotten a whole bunch of players back and keep it consistent. So that these players can gain chemistry, can gain confidence in themselves, in the formation, and in the tactics. That's going to be the other challenge.
Then we can get into match fitness with folks who haven't been a part of 11s and 18s. What are the updates on the likes of Kratz and Tito and Bello, as one of our listeners wanted to know this morning?
I haven't got to talk to Frank, so I don't know. I know that Kratz and Viaba trained earlier this week. I'm trying to see if I see them out there right now. They're out on the field, and I'm down here at the plaza thing. But my eyesight is so bad, I can't tell if they're out there or not.
the Galaxy come in without Zlatan Ibrahimovic, without Efrain Alvarez, without Diego Polenta. They really have struggled to score goals without Zlatan. He's got 55% of their goals this season. Do you see them come in and maybe try to play a little more defensive?
I had read, and I don't know how this is possible, that the Galaxy are trying to what's the word I'm looking for? Protest, whatever, Alvarez's suspension.
Yeah, I think it was Alvarez was the one that they were, at least early in the week, there was talk that they might appeal that red card, but I haven't seen anything further, and we usually get those disciplinary, committee decisions today at some point.
Well, one came out last night, and he wasn't on there, so I'm not quite sure what his status is.
Probably didn't win the appeal, or they didn't appeal.
You only get 2 appeals a season, I think. I don't know if they've used one or not yet. I don't know how they're going to score without Zlatan and without Alvarez. So it wouldn't surprise me if Schelotto doesn't try some sort of bunkering, and we'll just go from there.
Now that we've passed the All-Star break, and Jason refers to it as the business end of the schedule, when you look at the East in general right now, what are you looking at? Is Philadelphia going to be there by the end of it all? I mean, who do you see as wobbling? Who do you see as up and coming? What are you looking at when you see the East in the overall right now? What do you see?
I think NYCFC has got to be considered the favorite because of their inexplicable number of games in hand. I don't think New England is going to be there. I think they're going to revert to form. I think they got the new coach bump and they'll drop back. I think it's 8 teams for 7 spots at this point. I don't think Orlando's too far back. The Challenge and Toronto and New England are ahead of them, and Chicago's only a few points behind. I think at the end, the top 4, it will be NYCFC, Philadelphia, Atlanta United, and Red Bulls. I just don't know what order.
Do you think Frank de Boer looks ahead to Tuesday in an Open Cup semifinal? We talked about it with Orlando. I feel like they kind of have to, and I'm with you. I don't see them getting back into the playoff race, so the Open Cup, it has even more importance for them. But do you think there's maybe a little bit of a balancing of the selection in the 11 on Saturday?
No, because Frank doesn't do that. Tata didn't do it. Frank doesn't do it. I think he's going to start the strong. Oh, good. I think he's going to start the strongest possible 11 he can on Saturday, and then he'll probably make. He said he doesn't usually make more than 3 or 4 changes to a starting lineup. So you'll see a few new faces come in against Orlando, but you're not going to see anything wholesale. I guess he could make 5 because Leandro will be available again since it's a different event. But I think he's going to go as strong as possible against the Galaxy, and then we'll see on Tuesday.
When you look at this season and what Atlanta United has gone through in all of its waves and ebbs and flows and where things are right now, has there been anything that has truly surprised you in this season that you did not anticipate happening as you look back to where things are as we head toward the stretch run? Has there been one big surprise or a couple of little surprises when it comes to Atlanta United this season, whether it's on the pitch or off it? I mean, this is about as philosophical a question as you can get as we're heading toward the home stretch here. But has there been a surprise to you, or what's the biggest surprise?
Pitty's struggles. I don't think anybody anticipated him struggling as like he is now. I think those who don't watch a lot of Atlanta United got to see what has become a typical Pitty performance in the All-Star game. He lost the ball on his first touch, gave it away, I think, on his second, went to ground on his third, hit a fantastic diagonal pass across the field, came back to him on a cross, and he mishit his volley. And then he had a shot at the top of the penalty box in which he was wide open, and he put it about 20 rows up into the stands. It's just he cannot catch a break this season. I can't. I can't explain it. Some of the guys down there were saying if you watch him in the Copa Libertadores last year, he was like the fastest player on the field. Nobody could catch him. And then you look at him now in Major League Soccer, and I think I wrote he looks like he's got a refrigerator on his back when he's running. He just can't accelerate consistently. It's just a weird thing. And I guess the other is the kind of sky is falling approach from the supporters. I understand why they're unhappy with Frank and the tactics, but I guess I would point out from a factual standpoint, they're 3 points out of being tied for first. They're 2 wins away from a trophy that would put them back into the CONCACAF Champions League, and they're 1 win away from another trophy, albeit kind of a made-up event, but it is a trophy. And they're doing all this with a roster that, next to Sporting Kansas City's, probably has suffered the most injuries in the league. So I don't think things are quite as bad as people want them to be or assume they are.
Yeah, I completely and utterly agree with that. I think I've been railing on that one for a while. Let's get into the predictions. You've got some work to do coming up here at the training ground. You'll be speaking to Frank de Boer. And which players are appearing today?
I don't know. It was supposed to be Leandro, but he's not playing on Saturday, so
right.
I think they were taking him off. So I don't know. I'm hoping it'll be Tito because we haven't spoken to him in a long time.
That's true.
But we will see. The media availability started about 5 minutes ago. So some of the guys have already walked up there. I need to walk up there in a second.
Well, then let's hurry up. Go ahead and give your prediction and start walking.
2-0 Atlanta United.
Okay. Very cool. Business end. Make sure you're following Doug Roberson, AJC, for his tweets from media availability that he is walking to right now. Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all.
We'll give you our predictions right now, too. John, kick us off.
Well, Doug stole mine. I was going to say 2-0 just because I don't see the Galaxy scoring. And I assume that Guillermo Barros Escalotto will be defending far more than we're used to seeing. I think that it's going to take a while for Atlanta United to break through, but when they do, it's probably something late first half and then another one early second half, and it's an easy 2-0 win.
I think 3-1. I think LA does find a goal, either a set piece or just from how weird it can be in a moment like this. It sounds like they've got a couple different options about what they can do up top. They have Ethan Zubak, who's played a little bit. He played in the Leagues Cup match against Tijuana. He's your more traditional like-for-like, forward-for-forward. You could go with Chris Pontius, although he's coming back from an injury. Pontius is an unpredictable player up top when he's in that role. I think they do something that they did earlier this season. They go to Uriel Antuna as a forward instead of as a wing player. He's going to be really dynamic, and it's going to change the way that you see the Galaxy play because his movement will be so different than Zlatan. He's going to be looking to get in behind. That's going to take a minute to get used to, and it's going to take a minute for an Atlanta backline that won't have Leandro Gonzalez-Pirez, which will take them a minute to get settled in. So, all that being said, I think the Galaxy do find one, but I think Atlanta will have far more of the play, and I don't think the Galaxy will threaten enough for them to make it more of an even game. And in games generally where Atlanta dominates the play and dominates the chances that are being created, they're winning those games. And I think they do that here. I think it's 3-1, pretty comfortable. Gets to 2. Either Antuna gets one or they find one off a set piece from their second leading scorer, center back Daniel Steres. And then Atlanta finds one in the second half to put it away. So 3-1's my pick. Make sure you're going to jbailey86 on Twitter. Make your pick there, and Josh will be updating the Bailey Cup standings here very soon. He's catching up. It's been a crazy summer for everybody, so he will be catching up, and we'll get some standings for you and let you know where everybody stands in the business end of the Bailey Cup. But let's take a quick break. Let's come back. We'll get into more questions from you guys. We'll talk a little bit about Atlanta United 2 in action tonight as well. Hang out. We'll be right back after this.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Wrapping up hour number 1 on Soccer Down here this morning, August 2nd. We've got a couple other predictions in the barn now, too. John, what do we have from Jarrett and Nick?
Jarrett is saying 3-1 Atlanta. Galaxy and Atlanta keeps creating chances, and Nick did not want me to steal his prediction, so we can guess what that was.
Yes.
2-1 Atlanta United.
Well, you said 2-0, but so, this time you did not steal it for once, ever. You didn't go 2-1. Maybe second time this season.
Probably. I think that is probably true. I think it is the second time this year that I have not selected 2-1 in trying to defend my trophy.
It's about making picks, John. It's not about trophies. It's about making picks. Yeah.
And we have folks who are chiming in with theirs as well. Let's see. Shiva has 3-0. We've had a couple of 3-0s come across the board this morning, but go ahead and send in your predictions. But obviously, don't forget to go to the Bailey Daily, JBailey86 on Twitter. Brought to us by a lot of cool folks. Apolinski and Associates helping out with the poll this year. And give your predictions, folks.
Apolinski and Associates will be supporting our tailgate show tomorrow as well from the Faction Tailgate in the Gulch. It'll be live on Twitter at 1:30, and then I'll be rushing over to hop on radio with John Fricke and Hugh Douglas, who will be broadcasting live from the Gulch starting at 2. I'll be on with them at 2:20 for a segment, and then I'll be heading inside. And I'm hearing some things, and there's some things out there. You want to get in the stadium early. You want to be in your seats early. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait to run into the stadium at the last minute. Don't wait to get 3 more beers at the concession stand right at kickoff. Get in your seats. There's some things planned. You need to help, so get in your seats. Little birdie told me that.
Mm-hmm. Saw that from Resurgence yesterday, reminding everybody to get in your seats early.
Yes. All right. What questions do we have on the Twitters before we get Mike Conti on the line?
Okay. Well, I thought we were going to talk about the twos. Michael Head, following up on Doug's point, if the MLS wants to have a better product on the field, they need to schedule better. Ridiculous that Atlanta had to travel to Vancouver, New Jersey, and Salt Lake in 9 days. That is simply stupid. Insane scheduling hurts the competitiveness on the pitch. # be a major league.
Agree. Yes. If you're going to have this travel, it happens, sure, we understand. But don't do it like that. That's just absurd. And don't have teams play consistently on short rest compared to the opponent. That's the other thing that drives me nuts.
Let's see who else has given us a 3-0 prediction. HLUTD fan number 1 gives a 3-0 prediction. Shiva might have let the cat out of the bag with why you're supposed to get to your seat early.
I don't think there's a cat in a bag. I think it's kind of obvious.
We were having a full stadium TIFO. Last time we had a full stadium TIFO, we won 3-0 against Red Bulls. Tito with the game-winning goals. 3-0 is my prediction with Tito's goal to seal it.
Get in your seats early.
Yes. Nathan Pugh says that you and Doug are, quote, sky is falling, end quote, deniers with 2 exclamation points.
Yes. That's okay. I'll take that. Because the sky is not falling. The sky is falling?
No.
The sky fell and hit somebody on the head in Cincinnati. The sky is black cloud just walking all around Chicago and Bridgeview. Probably more around Bridgeview these days. The sky might have lifted just a little bit in Columbus. Maybe, just a little bit. The sky fell, broke, cost Anthony Hudson his job. Then the clouds parted for a little while, but Colorado is Colorado. Vancouver?
Oof.
That's a sky that fell and
Marine
really
layer.
injured a lot of people. So, no. The sky is not falling when you are on 36 points, when you are second in your conference, and when you have, let's see, let's do the math. You have 4 teams in the West with more than 36 points and 1 team in the East. So you are level with DC for 6th overall in the league. That is not sky is falling. I'm sorry. If you think that sky is falling, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, you don't want the sky to really fall. Go ask Vancouver fans how it feels.
Michael Head says, tomorrow's my birthday. All I want is a win and a Joseph hat trick.
That would be a nice birthday present. A Joseph hat trick would mean that he would be scoring in 9 straight games, which would tie his own record and Diego Valeri's record, which would be pretty cool. He's the only player to have 2 scoring streaks of 8 or more in MLS history, which is kind of nuts. The 2s tonight, ESPN Plus, Loudoun United is the opponent. They picked up a big win last time out against Louisville City, 3-0 at home. They did get helped by a first-half red card, but they were in a good spot. They were leading 1-0 before the red card. Young team, I think a team that kind of has had to figure it out on the fly because Richie Williams left them early this season to go join Bruce Arena's staff when he went to New England. So I think it's worked because they did what Atlanta did in a lot of ways. They turned to their academy, and they turned to somebody who knows their academy players, and they're playing a lot more academy players here lately, and they're getting some good results and they're getting some bad results, but they're getting some experience for these players, and they've shown some good things along the way. A lot of talented players coming out of DC right now, especially in their U17 group, so maybe a year or 2 away from huge contributions at the first team level, but it should be a fun one tonight.
2 teams played a little over a month ago up at Loudoun, 2 Cristian Sorto goals. Got Loudoun United out to a 2-0 advantage. Then Guillermo Benitez scored in the 86th. It was a 2-1 win for Loudoun United. And a very familiar name to Atlanta United folks is now a part of Loudoun United as well. As Gordon Wild has now been integrated with Loudoun United. He's been up there for a little bit.
Yeah, we signed with DC, and he's playing with Loudoun as he's kind of getting acclimated to the club. So probably Gordon Wild tonight. It sounds like, according to Doug, who is now, I guess, watching some training, that Andrew Carlton's not with the first team tonight, or training right now, so you would expect that he would play tonight for the 2s. ESPN Plus, or go ahead and say it, John.
Get your action at the fraction.
Yeah, do that. Join us at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. We'll be right back after this with Mike Conti.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky and Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Soccer Down Here, August 2nd. It's a busy weekend ahead. We went through the MLS schedule. We've talked about the twos tonight at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. And now let's talk a little bit more about the action at the Benz tomorrow, Atlanta and the Galaxy. Mike Conti from 92.9 The Game joins us. What's up, Mike?
Hey, guys. What's going on?
Morning.
Much. Getting ready for a busy weekend with back-to-back matches. And I think a lot of storylines, too. And that's the big one, I guess, when we look at the opposition that's dominating the headlines is what are the Galaxy going to do without Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who's got 55% of their goals this season? How do you think they come in and play it? Do they try to attack, or do they sit back and park the bus?
Everyone's behind the ball, I think. And I like the point that you made on Wednesday, Jason, that it makes the game plan much more straightforward for LA Galaxy. It's not just not having Zlatan. It's also not having Diego Polenta and Efrain Alvarez. That's 65% of LA Galaxy's goal scoring this year. Their leading goal scorer that's available to play tomorrow is Daniel Steres, the center back. So I think it's everyone behind the ball, and it might not quite look like parking the bus. It might be a little bit more tactical because Galaxy still have quality. But the bottom line on LA Galaxy is, and I respect the fact that they have figured out how to play against LAFC and how to get in their head and how to get positive results against them. I do respect that. But the bottom line is, if there was ever a one-man team in MLS, it's the Galaxy. Because you have Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who can do so many unique things individually that very few other players in this league can do. When you take him out, I think they become incredibly benign. And, you know, look, this is a team with 12 wins. This is a team that's on 37 points, third in their conference, and they're -1 in goal difference. And it's not like there's a couple aberration games in there where, you know, they've been okay, but then they'll have a 5-0 or a 6-0 loss somewhere. I mean, that's kind of been their story this year. They've been better than Atlanta United on the road, but they haven't been great on the road. I think it's a really good opportunity for Atlanta United tomorrow. And what I think will be an emotional game for Atlanta United to go out there and hopefully be patient enough to deal with LA Galaxy putting so many players behind the ball. But I think it's a really kind of tasty matchup where if they're patient, they can break it down. We could have a goaliada tomorrow.
So looking at, in hour number one, what we do, Mike, is we consult our juice box purveyors and get the numbers associated with what they think is going to go down. With this particular matchup, Atlanta United, according to our friends at Bet365, are listed as a minus 300 to win.
Yeah.
When you look at that number, is that about right?
Yes, I think so. It's tough because when teams come into the bends and they try to put everyone behind the ball, it can take a while to break that down. But Atlanta United, more often than not this year, has been able to eventually break that down. A couple late goals against Minnesota, a couple late goals against Chicago, obviously 2 late goals against DC United, a late goal against Montreal. So they have been able at home to break that down. I think if we're comparing this match tomorrow to the quality that DC had out there, when they played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the quality that Montreal had, the quality that even Colorado had. And I want to be extremely respectful of LA Galaxy. I mean, they have some great players. Jonathan Dos Santos. I mean, you could go up and down the list. They're going to have a lot of great players out there tomorrow, but it's just a different quality, I think, without Zlatan. I think minus 300 feels right. I mean, this is one that, you know me, guys. I mean, I tend to be a little bit cautiously, I wouldn't even say cautiously optimistic when it comes to, the day before a match. I'm more frequently cautiously pessimistic. I'm very optimistic about this one tomorrow. And it's an important game. It's a must win because you can't win on the road right now, at least in league play. So you've got a 9-match unbeaten streak at home in league play. You win tomorrow, you make it 10. If Atlanta United is going to make the playoffs and maybe host a playoff match or two, you've got to win every home match from here on out. And that includes tomorrow. But without Zlatan, I just don't know who's going to make plays for LA Galaxy. I don't know where they're going to be able to be creative tomorrow and make things happen. I think it's going to be very defensively oriented. And I think, again, as long as Atlanta United's patient, they should be able to break that down.
For your optimism to be rewarded, who's going to have to step up and have a big day?
Well, you know who I really want to see tomorrow for 90 is Barco. And I was really, really encouraged with what I saw from him Wednesday night. I think I understand he only played 20 minutes. But I think you can make an argument that Barco was the best player for MLS. And yes, he played the last 20 minutes of the game, but he was playing against fresh-legged players from Atletico Madrid, and it was their first team that was out there. I thought Barco was phenomenal. So if Barco can give you 90, oh boy. I mean, it could be really, really fun to see tomorrow, just what a difference Barco could make in the attack. Outside of that, I think the thing that we keep coming back to is the best chance to get a result against your opponent is to clean sheet them. And with Leandro Gonzalez-Perez out, I'll be very curious to see. I assume they'll stay in a 3-5-2, but what's that going to look like? Is Florentin Pogba potentially going to get some time tomorrow as a center back? Does Parkhurst come back into the mix? Does Lorenowitz play as a center back? Whoever is in that role of filling in for LGP, I think, is a big, big key to getting a clean sheet tomorrow. The fact that you don't have to play against Zlatan makes me feel a lot better about not having LGP tomorrow, but I'll be curious to see what direction Frank goes with the formation, and if he stays with the 3-5-2, who's going to be the replacement for LGP?
Couple notes from Felipe Cardenas this morning, but one that I'm just going to go ahead and lay out here. It says that Tito is back in training. And I think that with Atlanta United in the business end of the schedule now, you're facing everything coming back to full song with the roster, and one of the more dangerous sides, I think, when everyone else is healthy, because you have Joseph up top, you have Pity, you have Barco, you have Tito, you have Justin Miram, who has turned into an absolute godsend when he has showed up here and has been a part of everything. And I think that with the East being as tight as it is, having this depth and approaching matches almost situationally with your 11s and your 18s, I think that it's going to be key, obviously, and having Tito back in training is that next step in all of this.
Yeah, but, it's also kind of funny. You almost don't even worry about when Tito's going to come back now because you have this embarrassment of riches, and part of it is the acquisition of Justin Miram. But you've got Miram, you've got Vasquez, hopefully healthy pretty soon. You've obviously got Pitti, you've got Joseph, you've got Barco, you've got Gressel. You almost don't worry about Tito as much as you worry about, say, getting George Bello back or finding another left back somewhere. But you're right, John. I mean, obviously that does help. One other, I think, dynamic that's in play with this selection tomorrow for Frank DeBoer is something that we talked about on Stoppage Time Wednesday. And I think you're going to be okay going Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday over these next three matches. I don't think you have to rotate, but that's my personal opinion. If Frank feels you have to rotate, I think the more important match is Tuesday. Because it's the semifinal, you're 2 wins away from a major trophy. So if there were to be rotation, and I want to clarify again, I don't think you need to. I think you can get away with it. But if there were to be rotation, I wonder if Frank sees it the same way as I. And if maybe you're a little more second choice in some places tomorrow, so you have everyone fully ready to go and fully 90 minutes ready for at least 90, if not 120 minutes in human Orlando on Tuesday. To me, that is the bigger priority this week. And it really is saying something because you've got some really big matches. Galaxy, even without Zlatan's a big match. New York City is a humongous match next Sunday. But I think the biggest of them all, the most important right now, is the Open Cup semifinal.
What'd you think about the hot mics in Orlando?
Well, hey, the funniest part to me was I don't think John and Stu were expecting that to occur.
No.
Because the first time it happened, John was certainly thrown off.
Yes.
What cracked me up was after that corner kick when that Country Club Ultra down there was screaming, "Hey, I hope you can hear this, blank you, blank
there you
this."
Go.
They turned the mic off. And I think they turned it back on at halftime thinking that maybe the Ultra had moved or they had moved him out of there. And within 10 seconds, we have David Beckham and Sporty Spice or Posh Spice being slandered. So it is what it is. I thought Orlando did a really good job, to be honest with you. The atmosphere looked really great. It looked good on television. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't think it was a very good match. I didn't think it was very entertaining. And
final 15 minutes were. I think when Atletico brought in their first choice guys and the game kind of picked up a little bit.
A little. But if the purpose of an all-star game is to entertain fans, we've got to think about going to a new format. We're going back to East versus West, which is something that I know Jason has talked about a lot. And I ran the numbers yesterday. I don't know if you saw my tweet. When it was East versus West, you were averaging more than 8 goals per match. Since they've gone to MLS versus visitor, it's under 4 goals per match. Goals are going to entertain fans. So I think you're easily at a point right now where you can fill out 2 rosters with the 46 best players in MLS and have a very compelling, entertaining product. If you had done East versus West on Wednesday, you would have had Rooney and Joseph against Vela and Zlatan. Believe me, people would have been very entertained by that. It would have been just fine. There would have been plenty of star power to bring viewers to television. I hope that they'll look at the format again going forward. If not, just abolish the All-Star game.
Well,
because
look at this. If you'd done East versus West, and I actually did like lineups. I did 11 v 11.
Yeah, he did a
East
mock-up.
versus
Listen
West.
to this.
And if you did this, the front 5 on the East, if it's Maxi Morales, Alejandro Pozuelo, Nani, Rooney, Joseph, against the front 5 of from the West of Jonathan Dos Santos, Nicolas Ladero, Diego Rossi, Carlos Vela, Zlatan.
Yeah.
Are you not entertained?
Of course I'm entertained. And international viewers would be entertained by that as well. You'd get great viewership in Mexico. You'd get great viewership in Argentina. Obviously great viewership domestically. What's the problem? So I don't know. I hope it's something that they'll look at, or they'll just abolish the All-Star game and let the clubs continue to play. I think the All-Star game
I don't think
is
they
important.
should. I honestly think they should continue it. But what did the league gain from this 90-minute match? The rest of
Nothing.
It, great. Like the skills contest, bringing everybody together, homegrown game, unified game, all that stuff's great. It's good for the league. But the actual 90 minutes, I don't think the league gained a thing from it.
No, and I think, quite frankly, the league didn't gain much from it. And it was a fun week here in Atlanta, but I don't think it was a very entertaining match last year. Went to penalties. We had a little drama at the end, but this format just doesn't feel like it's working to me. But anyhow, in spite of that, I will say there were moments like LGP closing down Diego Costa twice. That was really cool to see. I love that, obviously. Barco, I thought, was fantastic. Guzan, it's part of the flavor playing down in Orlando to get heckled relentlessly when you're in that goal in front of the wall. That was fun, though. I mean, no one got hurt. No one got a bottle thrown at them. That's happened before, but not last night. It was fine. Or 2 nights ago. It was fine. So, look, there were a lot of positive moments in that match. I mean, I don't think it was a total waste of time, but if you want to entertain your fans, you've got to do a better job. The fans would not have been entertained. I was not entertained watching it on television.
No, and I think really when Atleti had that fire wagon change and you see Joao Felix and you see why he was invested to the point that he was, then you saw what was going on with the promise of Atletico Madrid. And there were a bunch of other things that went on during the week, Mike. You have the CBA discussions, which are important, and expansion. And it looks like now Charlotte and St. Louis are your 1 and your 2 coming in as the favorites for the next round, whenever that may be.
Well,
think about Charlotte.
If I was reading Garber's tea leaves, and that can be a little bit difficult, I actually came away with a slightly different impression that St. Louis is still the closest. That's just the gut feeling I have listening to Garber. Look, Charlotte, again, it's the type of owner you want to have in this league. He's making a lot of promises. He's using this as leverage to build a new stadium. All of that's okay. Like that's okay. If David Tepper wants to bring a club into the league and make them a big team, let him in. Charlotte compared to Raleigh as being a stronger market for soccer, I don't know if there's that much of a separation. I don't think people in Raleigh will necessarily support the Charlotte team. It's a long drive. But no, I mean, it's the same thing we talk about with any candidate city for expansion. I'm less concerned about geography and more concerned about getting the right owner in here who will spend money and try to make the league bigger. David Tepper is one of those owners. From the St. Louis standpoint, I think, look, they've got a stadium planned. It's a very hot soccer market. Geographically, it is what it is. You already have a team. SKC plays in Kansas, but basically you already have a team in Missouri, but it's okay to have another. I'm good with it. If Charlotte ends up coming in, it would create an awesome rivalry with Atlanta. And now you have the potential of kind of a triangular rivalry with Atlanta, Nashville, and Charlotte. I think that's great. I mean, from the benefit of Atlanta United, getting Charlotte in is absolutely a good thing. So we'll see. I mean, it sounds like they're right there. And David Tepper, I think, would be an outstanding owner for this league. So let him in.
I have a very important question to finish up with you.
Okay.
News came out from England this morning. Soccer AM has tweeted it. There's a new mascot for a team in England, Wigan Athletic. The mascot is Krusty the Pie. The meat pies that are very, very popular at games in England. It's a walking pie with hands and legs and a hat on top of it. What would the equivalent mascot be for Atlanta United? What food would be their mascot?
Oh boy! Did you already Well, I'm not so sure, John. Have you asked Doug Roberson his opinion on this?
I have not.
No,
this was just brought to my attention.
Breaking news.
Yes.
If I were Doug, I would say a walking panko crusted chicken breast, like they serve us in the press box. If it were me, I would say a walking cup of Carvel ice cream, because nothing is more intertwined, in my opinion, in the Atlanta United media experience than the Carvel ice cream machine in the press box. So, but no, I mean, John's obviously right. It's a peach. In all seriousness, I know the club had talked about when it came into being about having a mascot, a furry, in the same way as Blooper for the Atlanta Braves and Freddie the Falcon and Harry the Hawk, and they decided against it. And, they did a lot of research on that, I'm sure. So I don't know if we'll ever get to that day with Atlanta United. But, yes, if it were a foodstuff, it'd probably have to be a peach. Nothing's more synonymous food-wise with Georgia than a peach.
Well, but then Soccer AM brought up the notion of Boilerman from West Brom, and apparently it was a mascot that looked like a heating unit that just was their mascot that walked on the pitch at West Brom in the Premier League. So I guess don't have an air conditioner or a heating unit as a mascot.
I mean, Atlanta United has obviously, embraced the railroad kind of history that is tied into the Gulch area downtown. Do we have like a walking railroad tie or a walking locomotive, or do we, hire Purdue's mascot in their off season and have Bucky the Boilermaker come down and, put an Atlanta United sticker on his hard hat? I don't know. I mean, you could do that too.
Oh, man. I just love that mascots are becoming a thing in England, and they are so completely baffled by the whole concept.
I agree. I mean, of all places, Wigan especially. Hey, maybe Millwall can get a mascot. They can have a walking lion, and he can be heckled by both the home
or
and
a walking curse
supporters.
word.
Yeah, right. Like a walking exclamation asterisk ampersand or something like that. That would work out great for Millwall.
It would be target practice for bottles coming out of the stands.
That's funny. A walking meat pie. Well, hey, look, I mean, South Park perfected it with the walking taco that excreted ice cream. So, you got to give Trey Parker and Matt Stone initial credit on this, right?
Just don't make it gritty. Just don't bring gritty anywhere.
Oh, John, you and I, we're going to have a debate over that. I think gritty has been fantastic. And it's funny because in Philadelphia, the Flyers fans were just aghast that the Flyers would be, hiring a mascot of all things. And Gritty has been absolutely phenomenal. If you follow him on social media, or if you don't follow him on social media, give him a follow on Twitter. Yeah. I think he's hilarious. Exactly right for that club, where he almost pokes fun at the fact that he's almost a parody of a mascot, if that makes sense. He pokes fun at the fact that he is a mascot for the Flyers. I think that's been brilliantly done. So I'm going to disagree with you pretty hard there on Gritty.
What about a fighting artichoke from Scottsdale Community College in Arizona?
A fighting artichoke?
Artichokes are pretty prickly. If you don't handle an artichoke in the correct way, your hand's going to be sliced up. So
correct.
You could be onto something there.
Interesting. Yeah, last time we were in Canada, Tim Hortons had like commemorative cups of the different mascots around the NHL. They did not have a Gritty cup, and I was very disappointed.
No, it was only the Canadian clubs. But yeah, next time, we'll be up in Philly at the end of this month. We'll go to Wawa and see if we can get one of their Gritty cups, because I heart Gritty. I'm a big fan of his.
Gritty's awesome. All right, Mike.
No.
We'll see you tomorrow. What time are we on tomorrow?
4:30 tomorrow, Five Stripes Countdown, 5 o'clock kickoff. We'll also be on radio.com, on the Atlanta United app, and on Sirius XM Channel 157.
All the things tomorrow. Big game. We'll be there for you on 98.9 The Game. Thanks, Mike. See you tomorrow.
See you guys. Take care.
Be good.
Let's take a quick break. Be right back after this.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, live August 2nd. It's a Friday edition of the show, getting ready for the weekend, and the mascot stuff has torn the show apart. People are coming for John because he trashed Gritty. It's bad times in the Nelson household.
It is, and especially when you're trying to send a note and it sends the wrong link.
Always good. I look up at TUDN, who's doing their weekend preview as well, and they're getting ready for the Viernes de Lucha Libre, and they have a couple. They're doing a very serious interview in what looks like in front of a closed concession stand at an arena with two female wrestlers who are in masks, but dressed normally except for the mask, which is really weird. Really strange.
The terrifying new mascot, I think the one that really takes the cake, is Kingsley from Partick Thistle.
Okay.
Yeah, it's let's see. The writer of the article from the Telegraph when it came out 4 years ago. The head looks like Lisa Simpson if she'd been tortured and then melted and then addicted to crystal meth for a while.
That's not good. She was chasing meth.
So, yeah, that's the scariest one of them all. And, Partick Thistle's new mascot, Kingsley, from 2015. I think that's the one that takes the cake.
You can go down a million mascot rabbit holes as England tries to get their head around what a mascot is and what it should be. Okay, let's get back to the seriousness of stuff, and let's talk about John's fantasy team. What do we have this week, John? Do you have any players who are no longer in the league? Let's start there.
Well, yeah, the Carlos Gruezo variant did not work all that well.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, that didn't go over well. But as we dial up the fantasy team, in net, Maxime Crépeau.
Okay, relying on just a Crépeau fest in Cincinnati. Is that what you're shooting for here?
Saves and Cincinnati not scoring.
That's not bad. It is Cincinnati at home, which would give me a little bit of pause, but that's not too bad.
Backline, Diallo,
Montreal on the road in Colorado. You're going with two defenders on the road here with a goalkeeper and a defender. Okay.
Miles.
Sure.
Florian Ljungvirth.
Okay. Against Columbus, but Columbus has been scoring a lot of goals lately, though.
And then Ali Adnan.
Another looking for another benefit of the Crépeau Fest.
Correct. and the only offense Vancouver has.
Yeah, but that's a lot of players on the road. Okay. Midfield?
All right. Midfield. Mark Anthony Kaye.
Another on the road in New England where I think New England can win that. Okay.
I agree. Lapalainen against Colorado.
I'm sure he's probably at a pretty good price. Another one on the road, but still, that's one that, okay. One game under his belt, though, in MLS.
It's a flyer, I admit it. And then Shea Salinas and Marcus Eriksson at home.
Salinas probably a good price. Might not start, though. That's the other part.
6.2
should be. Yeah, I mean, it's a good price, but he might not start. All right. What do you have up top?
Joseph and Carlos Vela, Captain Joseph.
Joseph, yeah. I mean, he's scoring 8 straight games. That would make a lot of sense. And you captain him at home against a depleted LA Galaxy team. Okay. But, again, Vela on the road. Your team's like 8 guys on the road. Maybe 7.
Well, let's see. Vela, Lapalainen, Mark Anthony Kaye, Ali Adnan, Diallo, Crépeau, 6.
Okay. That makes it better?
And yes, I was going on the anti-Cincinnati bent by picking Crépeau and Ali Adnan.
Yeah, but Vancouver's terrible. Terrible.
Cincinnati doesn't score, then I get points from Crépeau. And Ali Adnan was 5.4, so he was a cap thing that I could squeeze in there and spend that money on other players.
Vancouver, I'm gonna burst your bubble a little bit here, John. Last 4
That's
games.
a first.
Yeah, seriously, especially in this segment. Last 4 games. How many goals has Vancouver given up? Just give me a guess off the top of your head, real quick.
9.
16 in their last 4 games, and you're picking 2 Vancouver
right.
defensive players. They gave up 9 in the first 2 against LAFC and Sporting Kansas City. Yeah. That's a lot of trust in.
Well, what you want to go? You want to go with a You want to go with a Metineer at home against Portland? Hara at home against Philly.
That's a little bit better. What else?
And then you end up with Sané at home against Dallas.
Nope, not touching it.
Boxall at home against Portland, Herrera at home against NYC. The home teams have difficult matchups this week. I mean, you've got Briant at home against Philly.
There is a certain orange-clad team in Texas.
And it would be financially viable because scrolling down the list, you have, I mean, they are inexpensive. I mean, I'm just saying. You're looking at. I mean, okay. So here's your orange-clad grouping: Minor Figueroa, Lundqvist, Fuenmayor, Bazama if he plays, Struna and Duvall.
Struna would be the one I would probably jump on
at 5.1.
And you could look at goalkeeper as well. Tyler Derrick has become the guy in Houston, and he's been a backup most of the season, so I would assume he's probably cost-effective as well.
Let's see. Joe Willis is at 5.9. Tyler Derrick is at 4.7. So if Derrick is in there, you're looking at Derek, Struna, Miles, Youngverth, Ali Adnan, and then fixing the middle, keeping Salinas and Eriksson, Lapalainen, and you can work with Mark Anthony Kaye. You sit here and no, I don't want defenders. That's the thing about this thing is it decides it's going to shift on its own. Carlos Heel at 12.3 instead of Kaye on the road.
In current form, yeah. Because who's going to score more points for you, generally? Heel, not K.
Okay, and so then up top you're looking at, once again, Vela and Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, Vela's been so good that's one that's absolutely worth the risk on the road. I'm trying to think if there was another one.
Brian Fernandez?
Instead. Yeah, it's possible. Minnesota's been better defensively on the year than New England, although under the Bruce Arena New England Revolution, the defense has been better. Vela's
Gustavo Bo.
Then you're putting a lot of eggs in one basket. So Vela's fine. It was more of the Vancouver Whitecaps affliction that your team had that was concerning.
So we're now looking at Derek, Struna, Miles, Youngworth, Ali Adnan, Heel, Lapalainen, Salinas, Erickson, Martinez, and Vela with a bench.
That's better. I think it'll help.
And then if I blow up Salinas, I can pick up a midfielder in the mid-8s, which would give me something along the lines of Santos, Barrios, Jackson Ewell, as opposed to Shea Salinas. Average points are about the same. Areola, Bezet, if he gets any minutes, Urso, Lucho Costa, Osorio, Kaku, Pamakal, that bunch.
I think you're okay. Getting the Vancouver players out was the one that needed to happen. So, choices, decisions. There's some interesting matches this weekend, so some of the plays are not as obvious, I think, here. And we'll hopefully have a fantasy update next week. If you have not joined and you want to get into the conversation,
join
some of the points, you can still join the Open League. Jason Wright, AGEN on Twitter, Jason Wright Agency on Facebook. We have seen some pictures of some people who won prizes in the Spring League. Very cool to see, and we will see more of those at the end of the season. All kinds of trash talking, have a fun team name, and stack up some points in our fantasy league. Let's talk about another place you can stack up some things on Prize Picks. Stack up some cash. MyPrizePicks.com or the Prize Picks apps. Download it, sign up. When you make your first deposit, you use the code SDH upon sign up, and you're going to get 25% of that initial deposit matched, up to $1,000. It's a lot of juice boxes. Also, you're going to get a free $25 two-pick play to jumpstart your Prize Picks run. And if you get half of your two-pick play, they're still going to give you $10 on that initial play. So they're very generous over at Prize Picks. A local company really doing daily fantasy in a different way. It's all about an over-under. They give you a number on a player. On the soccer side, it's very simple. Goals are 5 points. Assists are 3. Shots on goals are a point. If you get a yellow card, it's a -1. You get a red card, it's a -2. You're picking an over, you're picking an under. Very, very easy to get into the daily fantasy at Prize Picks. You can also pair it up with WNBA players, with baseball players, with golfers, with tennis athletes, with esports athletes.
Esports.
CFL. I think NFL preseason is on here as well. NASCAR. MMA. You could do a combo pick with your favorite driver in NASCAR and Joseph Martinez. You could do that if you wanted to at Prize Picks. You could grab an esports athlete like Cyclone Spin.
Never heard of him.
Cyclone Spin or Scream with 6 M's.
Wow.
Yes.
How do you put that on a driver's license?
You don't. You don't do that. But you could pick them in my Prize Picks. On the soccer side, on the MLS side, here's your numbers on the board for this weekend. Joseph, 10.5. It's a big number. Carlos Vela, 13.5. Ooh.
Daniel was feeling the under on that one.
Ooh. Yes. Josie 6.5, Nani 7, Mauro Manota 7, Kai Kamara 6.5, Safir Taider 5.5, Abear 9.5 for NYC, Wando 7.5, Jossie Zardes at a 5, Angelo Rodriguez 3.5 for Minnesota, Diego Valeri 7, Johnny Russell 5.5, Raul Ruidiaz 9.5, Przbilko from Philadelphia 7.5, Wayne Rooney 7.5. Off the top of my head, looking at these for the first time, Vela under, Abear under. Those I like those picks. What else jumps out at me? I actually kind of like the Jossie Zardes over pick, and I kind of like the Angelo Rodriguez over pick. But yeah, Vela 13.5. Man, if he hits that, that's a big, big day for LAFC.
Yeah. So as a rule, I look at big numbers, and I'm thinking, let's go under on those. What was Joseph's again?
10.5.
I would lean under, just because of I think of the Galaxy being more defensive minded.
But I could
not going to touch it,
goals.
But that would
I
be
could
my
see
first
him.
include.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it. I would not touch it. Daniel Price, who has had good success with Prize Picks, actually, so you might want to listen to him. He's got the under on Vela, the over on Joseph, the Rui Diaz over, and the Wando over. Optimistic 4-pick play there from Daniel Price. Go to Prize Picks, download the app, get in on the action. You're picking over-unders. If you want to pair it up with Scream, go for it. Have at it. I don't know my esports picks, so you don't want to take my esports picks at all. Let's take a break. Let's come back. We'll get into the Twitters. We'll get into other news of the day. There's some signings. There's some rumors of signings. There's some long-standing dramas involving Christian Pavone and the LA Galaxy that we will try to catch you up on right after this.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky and Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Final segment, SDH, August 2nd. It's Friday. See how long this goes. We've got your tweets. Get your final questions, comments, laughs, silly mascots, whatever's on your mind on a Friday. Send them our way on Twitter at SoccerDownHere. Some news and nuggets before we get into the timeline. George Bello not training with the first team this morning, and the thought is maybe, and we'll wait till Frank DeBoer speaks to the media, maybe George Bello could be in the group with the twos tonight. Could be an opportunity for him to play. Frank DeBoer said that he needed to get some time with the twos before he was incorporated back in with the first team. We'll see. He has been training, and we'll see if he's available tonight for Atlanta United 2 in USL Championship play. You've got all kinds of signings in silly season going on right now. Leicester just made a boatload of money selling Harry Maguire, it sounds like. Is that done, or is that rumored to be done?
No, that is done with Thunderbolts and Lightning on our show. Man United agrees. £80 million, Harry Maguire.
Thunderbolts and Lightning on both sides. Lots of cash all over the place. You've got a lot of players who are being linked to Major League Soccer right now. Lots of craziness. One formerly big name who was rumored to be coming to New England at one point looks like he's going to end up in Montreal. Bojan Krkic. Remember him?
Yeah, I remember Bojan Krkic.
Yeah,
I do.
Krkic.
Hand raised.
He could be in Montreal. That's an interesting addition to the Impact to need it. I think they could use that spark. I mean, what he's got left in the tank, it's a little hard to tell. I mean, his career trajectory is one of the most interesting ones in recent history. I mean, this was the guy who was supposed to be the next big thing at Barcelona. Didn't really work. Then went to Roma, loaned out to Milan, then went to Ajax on loan, then went to Stoke City, Mainz, and Alaves on loan from Stoke. I believe he is out of contract. So you're talking about picking up someone on a free. Yeah. Go for it, but what's he going to give you? He's 28. You feel like he's been around forever, and I mean, he broke in at Barcelona in 2007. But man, 28 years old, what's he going to give you?
And that, to me, is the larger question in all of this. He has as many loans as he does permanent locations in his career.
Yeah, he's never lived up to the hype, but at 28, he still has time to do that. And can he do it in Montreal? We will see if that deal gets done. Also, rumors in Kansas City with a Honduran winger, Michael Chirinos, headed potentially to Sporting Kansas City from Olympia, one of the top clubs in Honduras. Kansas City has to find a spark of some sort, and maybe that would be it. But how long would it take him to get up to speed? All those normal questions that come up. The Christian Pavón saga with Boca Juniors and the LA Galaxy is still continuing. It's not done yet.
I was going to say,
it's over?
Yeah, that's the word.
You think it's over, it's not over. You think it's done, nope, it comes back to life. Then you think it's going to happen, then it doesn't happen. Roger Gonzalez of CBS Sports tweeted last night at 11:30, regarding the reports in Argentina that say Pavón to the Galaxy is done, I've just been told that still isn't quite at that stage. My feeling is that it's getting there, though. The Galaxy are hopeful, but it's not done until you have a deal signed. It went from the Galaxy offering $12 million for 50% of his pass to the Galaxy offering $18 million for all of his pass to now, I think, a loan of 6 months to see if he can get right, because he's kind of fallen off at Boca, and they think maybe that Guillermo Barros Escaloto can get him back into form, and it's a loan with I've seen it described as a ridiculous purchase price. I've also seen it as a reasonable purchase price. Who knows? But does it get done by the end of the deadline? I think it's too far down the road. I think it has to. I think it has to get done, because I don't see any future for him at Boca. And the Galaxy have went this far in trying to do it. Is the shift from a sale of a big number to a loan partially due to the fact that they can't fit him under the MLS roster rules as a designated player? and the Roman Alessandrini stuff has popped up again, where he's like, no, I'm good. I'm not going to restructure my deal. No, I'm not going to do it. Because that was what they kind of expected would happen with the Giovanni Dos Santos and Jonathan Dos Santos stuff when they bumped Zlatan up. And an underrated part of that whole process was Alessandrini saying, I'm not redoing my deal.
Nah, fam.
He's really close to being a TAM player, but he's over that threshold. So they could re-sign him, give him another year, and make it work. I think they could make the numbers work on a new deal for him to extend his deal. But if he doesn't want to do it, then you're stuck. So can you do a loan somehow and get this under the TAM threshold? Maybe. Creative accounting, maybe.
Capologists.
But are you going to do what they did last time and push it all the way to the window and then come in, like you're coming in with your group project that's halfway done to the league and say, well, we got him, but we can't really fit him, so you're going to have to change some things and wink.
They need more time.
No, they can't get more time. That part they can't do. It's more about the roster rules. Can they then fit it? And we'll see. We will see. Yeah. I think an agreement gets reached between the two. I do think an agreement gets reached, but is it actually going to work according to Major League Soccer? That's the bigger question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Creative finance with LA Galaxy.
Yeah, we will see about that. Big match tonight in the NWSL, 2 versus 4 in the table. North Carolina Courage hosting the Washington Spirit. That's at 7 o'clock. It's on Yahoo Sports. I will be checking in on that one after the USL Championship match that we'll be calling. I'll be looking in to see how this one goes. 2 teams that I think can compete for the title this year. And North Carolina, now that they're getting everybody back, we'll see where it falls. But Washington, good squad, and you've got Rose Lavelle, who has been in outstanding form this year, nominated for the FIFA Player of the Year. She's been that good. She can carry the Spirit. Is it going to be enough in North Carolina? We'll see tonight. That's the game of the weekend in the NWSL for sure.
Yes. And my thought is that the Courage, Kristen Hamilton was named Player of the Month after her 3rd time this season being named Player of the Week. So she gets Player of the Month honors added to it, but I think that the Courage get it done.
Yeah, I do too, but I think look out for the Rose Lavelle highlights because she's been doing that a lot this year, and she's going to have to for Washington to get up into the big conversation, I think, with North Carolina and Portland. Those are the top 2 teams in the league. What do we have on the Twitters?
Okay. Herschel Skywalker, in our discussion about expansion and MLS. Herschel, Charlotte is an Atlanta wannabe fake city. If they talk about a downtown, if they talk about a downtown location for the stadium, they mean the parking lot of the Whole Foods near Trade and Tryon, since the city's just a large suburb with no downtown. So silly to put an MLS franchise there.
Wow. That is harsh.
Straight
Herschel
fire.
Skywalker is not a fan of Charlotte, North Carolina. Man,
nope.
I don't have any animosity towards Charlotte. I think it'll work. I think you've got an owner who would be the richest owner in the league. You've got an owner who wants to spend a lot of money on this. You've got a market that has shown success in drawing for big events. So you're going to have to treat this big. I think he would. I think calling it a fake city is a little unfair. It's bigger than that. It's kind of in some ways like Atlanta is a regional draw. I think Charlotte can be a regional draw, and I think that's how Tepper is really placing the Panthers, and I think he would place this team. He's already said it would be a Carolina team, not a Charlotte team. That would be very important. I think it can work. I think it can be really good. I think it can be better than Sacramento, which is why it seems like it's jumped it. And I think it's a surer bet than anything outside of St. Louis. So even Raleigh, who I love what the North Carolina FC, North Carolina Courage as a club, tying in the youth, all of it, I think it's been very good. But Charlotte is a better prospect with this ownership than Raleigh is, I think, for guaranteed success. And you do have to think about that from MLS perspective. You can take chances, and they had to take chances in previous years on markets that, is it going to be as good as you think it could? Like a Salt Lake City. It has been. Now, you can be pretty choosy. And when you have this kind of money coming to the table and this type of support, not just in the stands, but support from an owner and a committed owner, I think it's hard to turn down. I think Charlotte will be successful.
Let's see. Also on the board, Five Stripe Daily. Anyone else totally here for Justin Meram's return to Orlando Tuesday?
Yes. Very, very much here for Justin Meram returning to Orlando, being in the lineup, scoring a goal, and doing the celebration in front of the Orlando fans. I am so here for all of that.
And where will we be?
We will be at the Brew House in Little Five Points. We will be there for our pregame show starting at 6:30. You can come down and join us. We're working on some raffles and things, hopefully to benefit soccer in the streets with some autographed Atlanta United swag. We're working on putting that together now. Potentially some Brew House swag as well. We will also be hanging around afterwards for our post-game show. You can listen to all of that on the SDH app, on soccerdownhere.net, on Spreaker, but you can join us and listen to it live by coming down to the Brew House on Tuesday night.
Michael Head wants to end the meaningless all-star game. If you go east versus west, you'll have star players playing close to full 90s. No bueno.
No, you're not going to have star players playing close to full 90s. Why would you have that? They're going to play the same amount. You're not going to have them play close to 90 minutes. You're going to have them play 30 or 45. No. There's enough players in this league. This is something that comes up from time to time. I mean, when I went through it just off the top of my head, and I looked at who scored and looked at the ratings as to what I would do for a lineup, it's pretty easy to go too deep across the board and not be really struggling for players. And, I mean, in some positions, it's easy to go 3 deep. So you can field a solid 22 to 25 from each conference and be just fine. And you're not going to make anybody play more than 45 would be my limit. And I would actually write that into the rules. Can't play anybody more than 45 minutes. Done. No way I'd make them play 90. So, no. I think there's benefit to the All-Star game. I think it can be beneficial. I think it can be a celebration of the league. I don't think it is in its current format. If it's going to stay in its current format, I'd get rid of it. If you're going to go to an East-West, I think it can be successful on the fun side. If you're going to go to a MLS All-Stars versus Liga MX All-Stars, okay. You could do that. I'd still make sure that players don't play more than 45 minutes. But that would be a very unique way of doing it. I'd go to East-West and maybe occasionally have a match with the Mexican All-Stars.
Kurt McGirt, off of our mascot discussion.
Uh-oh.
He says, if it's not a peach mascot, it should be wings. A flat and a drum, both lemon pepper wet.
Done. That's the mascot. That's it. That's Atlanta. The peach is great. The peach is not just Atlanta. I don't think of a peach when I think of Atlanta. Do you see peaches on the ground when you walk through downtown Atlanta?
No.
Do
No.
you see chicken wings on the ground? Far more than you think you should. Yes, I'm telling you.
Far more. Yes.
I have seen
in various
more
stages
wings.
of being eaten, yes.
I have seen more chicken wings in Atlanta than I've seen peaches. That is a guarantee. So, yes, I think it has to be. You can have two. I totally agree. You can have the drumstick. You can have the flat. They can have silly names. And you get two mascots for the price of one. And, yes, they are lemon pepper wet. I agree.
And Mike chimed back in and said, wings sauced and tossed in lemon pepper. Love it.
Done. And after a goal, they can dive into a vat of sauce. And there you go.
Big splash, making a splash, so to speak.
Yes, they can make a big splash, and there's your craziness for mascots. If you're going to have a meat pie in Wigan, then we can have wings lemon pepper wet.
And Katie Weaver is so down with mascot plus soccer plus meat pies. OMG, I'm in. Also, #gritty forever.
Gritty forever. You are so in the minority on that one.
Good.
Meat pies, yes. Meat pies are awesome, and they come in all kinds of different forms. So, yes, I am down with the meat pies and soccer. Didn't a goalkeeper actually get suspended and or fined for eating a meat pie on the bench?
Yeah, it was in one of the FA Cup rounds from a non-league side, and it was divulged that he had a bit of a deal with a bet maker that he would be caught doing something on camera, and that was where that was tied.
Oh,
yeah, everybody enjoyed the innocentness of that particular act that was caught on camera, but it wasn't all that innocent, and he was reprimanded.
Didn't he do something too earlier in the tournament? I mean, this was a bit of a FA Cup celebrity of some. I mean, he was a hefty fella.
Yes,
so
he was.
Him eating a meat pie was not exactly a shock, but on the bench was maybe a little much.
Yeah.
Did he play in the round before? He didn't just come out of nowhere.
Yeah. 45-year-old backup goalie.
Yes. 45-year-old backup hefty man goalkeeper.
Yes. And getting the background for you quickly as we're dialing it up. But yeah, it was let's see. Sutton United.
That's it.
And that was where it came from. So it was Sutton United, and it was a betting stunt against Arsenal. And that was where it came down. Wayne Shaw, overweight reserve goalkeeper, had 8-1 odds that he would eat a meat pie during an FA Cup match against Arsenal. And it was Sutton United, and Sutton United lost to Arsenal, but he ate the meat pie on camera. It was a betting stunt. They lost 2-0, and he was eating it on the bench, and the FA was not a fan of him eating the meat pie, as it turned out, as a betting stunt.
So Wayne Shaw's had himself a career, ladies and gentlemen. He's been a goalkeeping coach at the club, but he was also a backup goalkeeper because you're talking about a small club. They're not going to have a backup goalkeeper. You have the goalkeeping coach. Yep, we need a backup. Cool. He gained the nickname the roly-poly goalie because he's 320 pounds. That's a big goalkeeper. You don't normally see that sort of thing.
That's a lot of stone.
The pie thing, I mean, obviously he's going to have Who Ate All the Pies sung at him from the stands on a regular basis. Yeah, that happens. Get it. While playing for Sutton, Shaw was involved in an altercation with fans of Kingstonian prior to a Surrey Senior Cup match in 2013, where he jumped over advertising hoardings and headbutted a fan who was insulting him about his weight. He was released by Sutton following the incident. Oof. He came back to Sutton in 2015 and then left in February of 2017, and this was around the time that Piegate happened. Wow.
See?
I mean, the pie thing I knew about, and I remembered him playing at one point, and then in the first game after he left Sutton, their goalkeeper was injured, so they had to have a field player play in goal because they didn't have a replacement for him. I did not know about the headbutting. Man.
I didn't either.
This guy's had himself a career.
Let's see. Elsewhere on the Twitters, Ryan has put out a 32-team MLS format that is Bartimus Prime approved. It includes Sacramento, Vegas, St. Louis, and Detroit.
And Charlotte? Or are they a fake city according to this one too?
Charlotte is in the South Division in the Atlantic Conference, along with Atlanta, Orlando, and Miami.
Okay, so Cliff's Notes, you're talking about what? What's the structure?
8x4.
Okay.
Two conferences.
2 conferences, 8 teams in 4 divisions?
Yes. You have 4. It's 4x4, and 16 teams in each half, 32-team conference, as laid out by Ryan.
League. Okay,
yes.
Now you're really confusing me. 32-team league.
Yes.
16-team conference.
Correct.
Okay.
4x4. 4 divisions of 4.
So 4 divisions in each conference.
Correct.
Okay. That's a lot. I guess it can work. I mean, I'm for scheduling. How would you do the playoffs? Have we gotten that far in this scenario?
Ryan. So that's Ryan's next step.
Okay. I am waiting on this one. I see Josh Airy
down
has
the
asked,
lower section of the down in the lower section of his graphic, he has his playoff structures. So he's going to have to snap that piece of video and send it to us.
Okay, share it. We can get Tafka involved, and y'all can have a debate at some point.
Yes. Okay, Daniel's reasoning on Joseph on Prize Picks. Yeah, the Galaxy come in and be defensive. However, if you score one, they'll just start coming. And he has his also rationale for Rui Diaz, Vela, and Wando as well.
No, Joseph can get 2 goals here for sure. I mean, it can definitely happen because he's been in that kind of form. Like it's not a shock. I mean, that's a big number, but when you've scored in 8 straight matches, it's not as crazy as you might think.
Josh Airy wanted to know our thoughts on the Gremio loan offer for PT. Obviously, it's not going to happen, but what does that mean that clubs would even offer?
Well, again, I'm gonna pick a hole at the tweet because thoughts on the loan offer. Let's go to thoughts on the reports of a loan offer because you don't actually know that it happened, and the Brazilian media can be kind of nuts at times. I don't know what they would have offered other than just, hey, we hear he's not playing well. We'll take him off your hands for a while. I don't think it got if there was an offer, I don't think there were actual terms. I mean, when you get to these sorts of things like in a loan deal in a player like this, you want the player, obviously. You're going to be offering a loan fee. It's not a transfer fee. It's not at that level, but it's a loan fee. So you're going to have to pay for the rights to the player for a short period of time. And then you start getting into how much of the salary are you going to cover. That's where negotiations happen on loans, when they get to the stage of, yeah, this could be a good idea. Now what do we do? Those are the things that come up. It's usually how big is the fee and how much of the salary are you going to pay. But no, that's not going to happen. And I don't know if it was ever even really a serious thing. I kind of lean to no, it wasn't.
Okay. And Ryan has now screenshotted his geographicness of how he laid out his divisions and his scheduling. So we are gradually getting to, okay, here we go. Here's his layout for playoffs. First round buys, the best record division winner, and then the second division winner, the one who was second in best record. But then you get into tiebreakers. I want to know what his tiebreaker scenario is.
Well, tiebreakers should be the same. Like that doesn't have to be different. Let me try to make some sense of this while I'm looking at it.
Go for it. So
you've got 16 teams in each conference. You've got then 4-team division. So it's very similar to the NFL, as Ryan says when you start to dig into it. From a scheduling standpoint, you're playing 34 games. You're playing the 3 teams in your division twice. You're playing everybody else in the league once. So your other conference opponents, your out-of-conference opponents. Okay. I mean, that's reasonable, and it keeps you at a 34-game season. I would be fine if they did more games than that, but if they want to stick to 34, they can stick to 34. That's fine. Then when you get into the playoffs, your best record of a division winner of your 4 would get a bye, and 2 other division winners would get a bye, or your next best, your top 2 division winners would get byes, and then your other 2 division winners plus your 2 wild cards. So you would have an 18 playoff.
Yes.
No, sorry, 16 playoff.
What? Okay.
4 teams, 2 wild cards. 4 division winners, 2 wild cards. That would be the biggest dramatic change. because you would be really cutting down how many teams make the playoffs. I'm not against it at all. I'm fine with it. But that would be the biggest change. I could see a situation where, man, how would it go? Because if you have just the top 2 in each division go, then you're really basically making the regular season kind of meaningless because half your teams get in. Yeah, this might be the best way to do it. I'd have to think about it a little bit more, but not bad. Good thinking. Appreciate that, Ryan. Makes people think, and I'm sure Tofka will chime in with all kinds of thoughts because he has them. He's been really putting in a lot of work on this, and we're going to get it back into the opus. Tofka's had a lot of stuff going on. We've had a busy schedule as well. We'll reheat the part 3 that is up on our Soccer Down Here website. You can check that out at soccerdownhere.net. We'll reheat that as we get part 4 together for an upcoming Tuesday or Thursday Thoughts edition of the show when we dig into it. But, yeah, these things, it's good to start kind of looking at what this can be, how it can grow, what it can actually look like, what are the logistics. So appreciate it, Ryan. Thanks for tweeting that at us.
And we are officially caught up on the Twitters.
All right. Christian Pavone has not ended up anywhere yet. I'm sure it can happen. Bordeaux is reportedly chasing him as well. And
I thought Fenerbahce was too.
There was a tweet in Turkish. I don't know if that means Fenerbahce was actually chasing him. Somebody said they were. These are the things about silly season that we have to constantly remind ourselves of. Just because a tweet pops up, just because a journalist somewhere says something, doesn't mean it's actually happening. Get Football News France is saying, and L'Equipe is also in on this, and another highly reputable, according to Get Football News France, Girondin Infos is saying that Ligue 1 signed Bordeaux have agreed to personal terms with Pavone. Their offer package is identical to that the LA Galaxy have offered, but the president of Boca Juniors will have the final say. The deal with Bordeaux is a 2-year loan with an option to purchase. I'm a little surprised that the Galaxy would be trying to get a guy on loan for 2 years. I would assume it's probably 18 months, and that option to purchase would come through at the end of next season. Bordeaux would be able to do a full 2 years because I don't know if the Galaxy would do a loan that would come up halfway through the 2021 season, but maybe they would. So we'll see. This is what's coming out of France, and it doesn't look like Boca's going to get the sale on Pavone that they were looking for at one point. Maybe they made the decision to say, look, let's not sell him just yet. Let's keep our options here. If he goes to Bordeaux or the Galaxy or wherever and he does well, maybe we wouldn't want to sell. So probably some pretty big back and forth about what that number would be in terms of a purchase. Boca would probably want it to be fairly high, but also somewhat reasonable because money's good. Boca doesn't necessarily need a lot of money. Looks like they're just doing a deal with Adidas that will kick in here very soon, and we'll see Boca making the most money of anyone in Argentina, and that's actually part of the deal, is that they would be protected. If anybody signs a more lucrative equipment deal in Argentina, Boca would then get more money. That's the clout that Boca Juniors is talking about right now. So they're not chasing money in the same way that some other Argentine clubs would be in this situation. They can be a little more pragmatic in how they deal with this negotiation, and it appears that they are. So stay tuned on the Christian Pavone sweepstakes. That could make if let's say Bordeaux gets him, and let's say the Galaxy don't, then you go to Plan B, which according to reports out of Argentina when it comes to the Galaxy, Plan B is Martin Benitez of Independiente, who Independiente advanced in the Copa Sudamericana last night, and Benitez played a part in that. And that would be around a $15 million deal that we're talking about. So then you're back to, are you going to be able to get Roman Alessandrini to sign a new deal? And I would assume that if you're going down these roads that you've got some agreement in place, but we thought that during the last window and it didn't happen. So who knows? LA Galaxy are up to some shenanigans, and we'll see if they actually pull them off.
Don't you love shenanigans?
They can be fun sometimes. We will see. The loan, and our friend Nick Alifi's trying to figure this out too. Like, he thinks that in a loan thing, you could potentially do it to where you could avoid the DP situation. The problem I would have with that is it's one thing if the Galaxy were the only team that were trying to get this done, because then you're basically negotiating against the MLS rules. But if there's another team that is willing to take him on loan for the same parameters, they can offer a loan fee that would be more than the Galaxy could to keep him from being a designated player. And that's where things get really funky for the Galaxy. And then you got to restructure a deal with Alessandrini. And I don't know. He didn't do it before, so I don't know why it would happen now. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. The Galaxy are trying to get to upgrade. Looks like Montreal's trying to upgrade. You've got rumors of other clubs looking to upgrade. You've got Sporting Kansas City bringing in a left back that they had been working on for a while. They get that deal done. You're going to see a lot of action around the league on these types of deals. I think you're also going to see a lot of action on trades next week when you get close to that window. It's going to be a crazy Wednesday because it is August 7th. I don't know what time it actually closes. Last time we were following where it closed on the European leagues, and it closed, at 11 o'clock local time for those leagues, or midnight local time for those leagues?
I think it was midnight local.
So I'm assuming that it would be midnight local for us as well. I don't know if we're going to do a midnight show to follow this on Wednesday night. We'll see. We'll see where things are. I'm not ruling it out. But, yeah, Wednesday could be a very, very interesting day around Major League Soccer as teams make their final moves to get ready for the business end of the season, which, in my opinion, starts this weekend. You got a lot of big games around the league. You've got a big one at the Benz. We'll be on hand in the Gulch, 1:30 with the Faction, presented by Appolinsky and Associates for our tailgate show. You can watch it and listen to it on Twitter. You can join us live. And then all of the coverage for us on 92.9 The Game starts at 4:30 with the Five Stripes Countdown. We'll have an hour of the full-time report following the final whistle. You can listen to it on your way home. You can tweet at us your thoughts about the match. It's going to be a busy next couple of days. It starts tonight with the 2s. You can watch that on ESPN Plus, or you can join us at Fifth Third Bank Stadium for what, John?
A little action at the Fraction.
Yes, that. We'll get into all of it starting tonight. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks for all the tweets all week. We'll be back officially on Monday with an Overreaction Monday edition of SDH. Much plati, y'all.
Much plati, y'all.